You know, for thousands of years, we've had this thing for one specific, shiny, yellow metal, gold. We wear it, we hoard it, we fight wars over it, but in a world of digital everything, of instant transactions, why does this ancient rock still have such a hold on us? To figure that out, we have to start with a really simple question.
Okay, I want you to really picture this. Every single piece of gold ever pulled from the earth, every ring, every coin, every massive bar sitting deep in a bank vault. If you could melt all of it down into one single solid cube, how big do you think it would be? Like, would it fill a football stadium? Would it be as tall as a skyscraper? What are you picturing?
Well, get this. The answer is shockingly small. All the gold in human history would form a cube about 22 meters on each side. It would fit, pretty comfortably actually, inside an Olympic swimming pool. That's it. That's all of it. And that incredible, mind-bending scarcity, that is the first key to understanding its power.
So where is this ridiculously rare stuff? Well, almost half of it is worn as jewelry. About a fifth is actually doing something useful in technology, or even in our teeth. But here's the wild part. Over a third of all the gold ever mined is just sitting in vaults. It's not doing anything. It's not part of a machine, it's not decorating anyone, it's just being gold. And to understand why we do that, why we lock so much of it away, we have to look up, way up, to the stars.
That's right. To understand our obsession with gold, we have to go back to its violent and, frankly, completely extraterrestrial birth. No, seriously, gold is an alien metal. It is not from here. Every single atom of it on this planet was forged in the unimaginable chaos of an exploding star or a neutron star collision, and then it got delivered to a young Earth billions of years ago by asteroids. That wedding ring on your finger, it is literally made of stardust.
So when the first humans pulled a shimmering little nugget out of a river, they were holding something that felt otherworldly. It had this unique, sun-like glow, and crucially, it never rusted, it never tarnished. In a world where everything else rotted and decayed, gold seemed eternal. The Incas even called it the sweat of the sun. It just felt divine.
So it's beautiful, and it lasts forever. But that alone doesn't create an economy. For that to happen, humanity had to take a massive leap of faith. This was the first big leap, and it's the one that turned a pretty metal into a global engine of value.
Before gold, money was, well, it was practical stuff, like cattle. A cow is useful, right? It can feed you, it can work for you, but it's got issues. It dies, and it's really hard to make change. You can't exactly pay for a loaf of bread with half a cow. Gold, on the other hand, solved all that. It's portable, you can divide it into tiny bits, and it never, ever goes bad. But there was one huge catch. You can't eat it. It has zero practical survival value.
And this right here is the absolute heart of the whole thing. Gold's power doesn't come from what it can do. It comes from our shared story about it. It's what we call a collective belief system. It's just a giant, invisible agreement we all made that this shiny, useless for survival metal has value. And that belief, that idea, is what turned it into money.
Of course, that powerful belief quickly spiraled into a dangerous obsession, a fever. When the Spanish conquistadors got to the Americas, one of them described their craving for the metal as a disease of the heart that can only be cured by gold. They saw priceless, intricate Aztec art and just melted it down into cold uniform bars. They didn't see culture, they just saw economic units.
So gold becomes the standard. But now there's a new problem, a big, heavy problem. Carrying around tons of gold is, well, it's inconvenient and it's really risky. This practical headache forced humanity to take its next huge psychological leap, a leap away from the metal itself.
This is where paper money comes in. And the idea was genius. You'd leave your heavy physical gold with a trusted goldsmith or a bank, and they'd give you a little piece of paper, a receipt. And suddenly, the trust shifted. It wasn't in the heavy metal in your hand anymore. Now your trust was in an institution's promise that the metal was safe in their vault, waiting for you.
Eventually, this system got formalized. It became official. We call it the gold standard. Governments all over the world signed up. That $20 bill in your pocket wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a legal IOU, a direct claim on a specific amount of actual gold held by the government. The paper was just a convenient placeholder for the real thing.
But this system had a fatal flaw. Its biggest strength, the fact that money was tied to a real, finite thing, was also its greatest weakness. When a huge crisis hit, like a war or a major depression, the government's hands were tied. They couldn't just create more money to get the economy going again because they didn't have more gold.
The anchor that kept the system stable now felt like a cage.
And then, the Great Depression happened. It didn't just expose the flaw in the gold standard, it shattered it. This crisis forced the world into its third and most abstract leap yet, a leap away from physical things entirely and into a system based on pure trust.
The 20th century was when it all unraveled. The Great Depression basically broke the system's back. Then in 1933, President Roosevelt effectively forced Americans to turn in their private gold. And then came the final cut. In 1971, President Nixon went on TV and announced that the US dollar would no longer be convertible to gold. The gold window, as they called it, was closed. And just like that, money changed forever.
And that brings us to the system we live in right now. It's called fiat money. Fiat is just Latin for let it be done, or more simply, because I said so. Our money has value simply because the government declares that it does, and because we all collectively agree to believe in that government's ability to manage the economy. The trust is no longer in a metal, or even in a promise for a metal. The trust is now in the system itself.
Which leads us to our final and maybe most important section. After all these incredible psychological leaps away from gold, if our money today is backed only by trust, why do we still run back to that shiny yellow rock whenever we get scared?
I'm serious. Think about it. If our dollars are backed by the full faith and credit of a government, why is it that anytime there's a hint of economic trouble, people and even central banks around the world start hoarding gold and driving its price to record highs? What's going on there?
Well, the answer is the psychology of fear. It's a chain reaction. Step 1, our trust in the system starts to get a little shaky. Step 2, we start to worry about inflation or political instability or some new crisis. Step 3, we start looking for a safe haven. And when we do that, our modern financial brains revert to something ancient. We run back to something tangible, something scarce, and something that isn't controlled by any single government or bank. We run back to gold.
And you know, this exact same psychology explains a totally modern phenomenon, the rise of cryptocurrency. Think about the sales pitch for something like Bitcoin. It's scarce, right? It's incorruptible. It's outside the control of any central authority. Sound familiar? It's the same ancient human impulse, the same desire that drove us to gold, just dressed up in new digital clothes.
So ultimately, it doesn't matter how sophisticated our financial systems get. At the bottom of it all, they are still built on a very fragile layer of collective belief. And when that belief gets shaken, we instinctively reach for things that feel timeless, things that feel eternal. We reach for the things that shine like the sun.
Which leaves us with one final and maybe kind of unsettling thought. Gold's story isn't really about a metal. It's about the story of trust. Our entire modern world, from the numbers on a screen to the cash in our wallet, is this incredibly elaborate machine built entirely on faith in our institutions. And it really makes you wonder, what happens when that trust truly breaks?